Hi, this is Dana, and welcome to my live stream for Thursday, August the 22nd. I'm on a few minutes before 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope if you don't join me live, you'll catch me on the replay. Tonight, I'm still gonna whine a little bit, just like I did on Tuesday night. I haven't done much today. I've been feeling extremely tired and haven't done anything physically. Um, just exhausted. So, with all that said, uh, get into my real whining. Uh, while I haven't been resting today, I've been on my iPad. I've been looking on Etsy, oddly enough, and I've been looking up 1960s vintage items, of which that's when I was a child, and looking receiving the things then that were not vintage then, they are now. I've looked at Barbies. I've looked at coloring books. I've looked at little golden books. I've looked at crayons. I've looked at games. I've looked at craft kits. And I'm finding on Etsy, more so than on eBay, which I've bought vintage things that I collect from the 60s and early 70s off of eBay, that things are much more expensive on there. Now, I will say, on eBay, if somebody ghosts you, it's a lot easier to get your money back. I don't know how it is with Etsy. I never have bought a lot from them, but I have been very satisfied with the purchases I have made so far. But I have not bought anything vintage like I've been looking at today. When I was a child, there was two shows I remember watching on TV, what little I got to watch. One was called Mr. Wizard, and the other one was called John Nagy Does Art. And another show was called Art Linkletter's Funhouse. And I do remember enjoying watching them. I also remember enjoying quote unquote adult type show, and it was called the Ted Mack Amateur Hour. And I remember one of their sponsors was Bic. And I was about 6 years old, just learned how to write and print pretty good. And I found a pen, and I wrote Bic, B-I-C, dog, D-O-G. In my parents' case, they kept their silver service in. And I think to this day, my dad, which he sanded the little artwork I did off and refinished it. But I remember getting in a bit of trouble about that. So I never tried any more putting things that I saw on the TV to my handiwork. I do remember the first ever televised presidential nomination elections, and I just remember I did not like it. Because all they said is, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman. And I turned and I was staying with my grandma and my aunt, and I told them, I said, I'm tired of hearing that damn Mr. Chairman shit. I got in trouble for that one too. But I never thought any much more about making remarks about political conventions like that. And I guess I should have considered myself lucky that they was allowing me to sit there, because at the time, back in the early 60s, everybody sat in the living room if you were lucky enough to have a TV and watch the TV. So I was lucky to be able to watch it. And that's about all I got to say about that. As a child, I was pretty good, but when I was naughty, I was very naughty. And my children are in the background talking, so I'm having a hard time composing my thoughts, but that's okay. I'm not going to be able to stay on tonight very long, but I did want to talk about some more of the vintage things that I found online on Etsy. And they make it real easy to go back and look at the things, because it keeps a memory of what you recently viewed. Talking about the John Nagy art program that I used to be allowed to watch on TV, I saw on there a John Nagy super colossal watercolor paint box. And it's only $16. But for all intents and purposes, about 75% of the paints were either missing or mostly used up. But the outside of the tin that the paint box came in seems pristine. So, also I looked at a 1962 Barbie, color by number, 38 page by Whitman's Publishing, which the seller's offering for $32. And the spine of the book near the top is in pretty rough shape, and a few of the pages have been colored on. And I probably wouldn't pay $32 for that, even if it were in better shape. Did look at vintage crayons. I've always loved crayons, colored pencils, pastels, things like that. And the only real thing that I found that caught my interest was a Crayola crayon box from the 1960s, vintage, and this was special because it was 72 crayons and sharpener and with a book, and the seller's offering it up for $30. But there are, I'm going to say about 8 of the crayons missing, and the book that came with the original set's missing, so I probably wouldn't pay $30 for that either. I used to collect Barbie dolls. Hey Erin, welcome to the live stream. Hey Erin's mom. I see where you said you thought about getting the watercolor pens or so. Also was looking at Barbie dolls, which I used to collect, and they had a bubble cut Barbie doll that a seller has offered up. Not in the box or anything, but it does have its swimsuit and shoes on, and they want $54.99 for that. I don't think I would pay that much for it either. I've also looked for some of my favorite things, which are Disney / Mickey Mouse. And I was looking at a pre-made Mickey Mouse paper bag scrapbook album that can also be used as a junk journal. And it was really cute for $25.50. But that's probably not a bad price for all the work the person has put into it, but it's not something I'm able to take advantage of right now. Also been looking at vintage sewing patterns, and they won't. Oh, and vintage glasses, cat eye glasses, which I had cat eye glasses, and I remember crying about them, and now I think they're just the coolest thing ever. But there's a Etsy seller that specializes in vintage 1960, early 70 glasses, and she's got a pair I looked at for $148. Yeah. Aaron's mom says she has a 64 Barbie. She got it for her birthday. And she's not going to tell her age. And she's laughing out loud. I think I had a 64 Barbie too. And I'm not going to tell my age either. Although most people know what it is. I was pretty rough on my Barbie dolls. I dressed them, undressed them, drew on them, styled their hair, cut their hair, tried to wash their hair. So, I don't think there was much of anything left behind of my Barbie dolls. So the ones that I did have is ones that I bought vintage since I've been an adult. And oh goodness, Aaron's mom says that Aaron cut one of her doll's hair. I don't even really know how I managed to cut my doll's hair, because best I remember, all we had was those blunt scissors, and they wouldn't cut very good, but I guess I managed to hack the doll's hair off with the blunt scissors. I also remember when my daughter Mary did her probably first and only haircut. She cut a big chunk. She had really long hair, and she cut a big chunk just out of the back. Aaron's mom's taken up for saying that in her defense, her cousin talked her into it. Way to go, Aaron. My mom wouldn't have let me cut my doll's hair either, but I probably did that not where she knew I was doing it. In other words, I snuck and did it. But you can bet I still got in trouble. And that's what made me the fine person I am today. Ha ha. Also, I looked at a vintage sewing pattern junk journal kit. Had 40 pieces in it. So it's a do-it-yourself junk journal for $26.95. And I'm sorry about that. My phone's telling me it's low on battery, so I'm probably going to have to sign off pretty quick, and I hate to do it while I have people on here to talk to. But that's something I probably would buy if I had a little bit of money to spare. Bye, Jean. Good night. And I'm going to ask everybody that's watching and watching it on the replay to remember to please be kind to one another. We love you. And we'll see you next time, which will be on Saturday. Bye.